Hey, welcome back to our latest episode. I thought a lot about how to talk about this. We had a bad time on the Trollhättan and the Gotha canals. But the world doesn't need another grumpy old white man complaining on the internet. So, how do I tell that story, right? And maybe make it useful so it's not just complaining. So, we'll tell you what happened with us and maybe some of the problems that we had that you could avoid. Right? Ways to handle those canals so that they could be useful and they could be a good time for other people. We won't go back with the boat that we have and it's just two people, but we'll explain that. Listen in, watch and learn.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting.
Welcome back to Sailing Northern Breeze. Today we're talking about the Swedish canals, Trollhättan and Gotha. I'm sure the pronunciations are very different in Swedish language, but it's the best I got. I've spent a lot of time deciding the best way to tell this story. The internet is full of negative commentary, and I'm determined to do my best to not contribute to that. In other words, instead of whining, is there a purpose served when giving negative feedback? In some cases, there's a positive outcome to a negative experience. I hope to have found the balance within this story. So here goes. We left Gothenburg and traveled into the river, which will take us to the canal system. It's a great day, sunny and warm as we head out.
Bridge 1, many to go. I know at least 60 locks and I have no idea how many bridges. Smile, sweetie.
A beautiful day on the Trollhättan, going through Sweden. Sunshine and about 18 degrees. Amazing. This will take us to Stockholm after about 300 miles. 200 in the canals, 100 sailing.
We are now in the first lock of the Trollhättan Canal. We have 60 more plus to go.
We arrive at the first lock and tie off to wait for our turn to enter the lock. It's a bit of a rickety dock, but we manage okay, and we're soon joined by several other boats. A smaller boat rafts off to our starboard side. This boat is new to them, but we get them tied off with no trouble. All is well. Unfortunately, their day will get worse, and this boat will have the bow pulpit destroyed in a few hours from now. So basically, the Swedish canals were the worst part of our season, both for safety and potential damage to our boat. I'll explain that, but also what you can do to avoid our issues. The list is long, both pros and cons for traveling in the Trollhättan and the Gotha canals, so I'll start with safety first, and then talk about potential damage to boats. Safety was most at risk in this first lock, entering from the Gothenburg end. Bad bullard. Can't get a line on that one. This is what they should look like. Should be able to throw a line over top of that thing. So as we come in, Marie tried to get a line on that. She could not. It was impossible. When the wall is curved, I had to turn in. And as you turn a boat in, the back end of the boat moves out, moves away from the wall, because that's where the steering is, that's where the rudder is. So we got too far away from the wall. We kept coming forward. I tried to grab the ladder because Marie went by the first one and she tried to grab the second one as the boat came in, and I couldn't grab the second ladder either, and that's how we spun. For us, we started on the back foot with a 3-hour wait to enter the canal. Communication was zero to the English speakers and to everyone on VHF. Thankfully, on some of the other boats, there were Swedish speakers waiting with us who relayed the repeated 1-hour wait times. But it went from inconvenient to dangerous once we entered the lock, for more than just us. We were the last boat to enter the lock, so only had one available set of bullards, and it was impossible to get a line on this one. We were the fourth boat in line on the right hand or starboard side. The fifth boat went to the port side. This bullard has been smashed, and it's not usable. This is a lack of maintenance, and it created some risk. As we entered, Marie was able to grab the stairs in the wall at the front of the boat. But by the time I knew we were unable to grab that back bullard, I couldn't reach the other set of stairs, and the wind started to push our stern off the wall. Can't reach. Normally that'd be okay. We could reverse and try again. This was the second failure by the lock management. Before we were secure, they had already started closing the lock gates, so there was nowhere for us to back up. Said we were the last boat in the lock. If I'd have started to back up to get secured on the wall, the lock gates would have been a problem. So, the wind spun us in the lock. We spun 180 degrees, our 42-foot boat, and I can look up and see how wide that lock is, but there wasn't much room. Thankfully, the boat in front of us had 4 strong hands willing to help, and they grabbed our lines and helped us raft off to them backwards. The lock employees either weren't watching or didn't care that we were freely being pushed around by the wind inside of the lock. That is incompetence. I don't know if you can see the other side of the locks, but they are a mess. Raw rock, stone, various places you can get the bow of your boat stuck, which just happened to that guy yesterday. Crappy day for him. But it wasn't the worst for us. Another boat was damaged on the other side of the lock. The south side that we were on, our starboard side, is made of granite blocks with bullards. Even if damaged, it's kind of a smooth surface. However, the opposite side, the north side of this lock, is raw rock with various bits of broken concrete and rebar sticking out. The brand new boaters pulled over to the port side to give us room and tried to tie off. Unfortunately, as the water started to rise, their bow pulpit was trapped by one of these pieces of rebar sticking out of the wall. So as the water began to rise in the lock, the bow of the boat was held down. The water kept rising while the stern of the boat rose and the bow was pinned. It was scary. Their bow was about a foot from going underwater as the water rose, and he finally was able to grab some tools and cut his lifelines, which released the strength of the bow pulpit. The bow pulpit collapsed and the boat bounced free. So now it's bouncing around inside the lock, not secured to the wall either. Once again, the people managing the lock either weren't looking or didn't care as this was going on. They kept filling the lock without noticing or not caring that this guy's bow was pinned under some loose rebar. This was very dangerous and very incompetent. Our pride was damaged, backwards in the lock, but not our boat. Unfortunately for the other couple on their new boat, it was damaged. The wife left the boat the next morning, took a bus back to the city, and vowed that she would never again step on a boat. What a terrible beginning for their sailing career. So what can we take from this instead of me just complaining? Well, if you're going into the Trollhättan Canal from Gothenburg, do not be the 4th boat in on the starboard side, unless that's been verified has been corrected. Also, don't be the 5th boat in who gets pushed over to the port side. Don't ever tie off on that wall. The wise person now, if I had to do it again, I would wait. Yeah, I waited 3 hours to get in the lock the first time. I would wait another 3 hours for the next opening, or even overnight, to make sure I didn't end up in that situation again. Okay, moving on. Once through that first lock, we tied off for the balance of the day to relax from the adrenaline of that lock experience and check on everything, our boat and the other boat, and see that everybody was okay. By the way, nobody from the locks came down to see that everybody was okay.
Can I touch it?
This little harbor is a comfortable place to stop, with friendly boaters, both local and fellow travelers like us. It is very close to the commercial traffic, but they provided a good show.
Who runs the marina here
Very close.
in Sweden at the top of Trollhättan said you should move your boat ahead about 2 meters. And I don't know whether it's obvious, but 2 meters is about half the distance to the ship. But thank you to all the people who helped us move forward 2 meters.
It's a small harbor with room for less than a dozen boats, but it's very nice, calm and secure. The rest of the Trollhättan Canal was uneventful, and we finished it up the following day, relaxing at Vänersborg. The following morning, it's June 21st, midsummer, and they were celebrating across Sweden. Unfortunately, not so much in Vänersburg. Apparently, many of this town's inhabitants have either gone to their cottages or to festivals in other towns. Oh well, we're enjoying this town.
Vänersburg, Sweden, June 20th, 2024. On the day of Midsummer's Eve, a big festival day here in Sweden.
But we think everybody is sleeping right now.
They're saving up their energy.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a ghost town. Here in the Paris of Sweden, as one of the sailors told us this morning on a different dock.
10:03 p.m. in Sweden. Sunset. Dusk is at 11:23, I think. Dawn at 2:45, with sunrise at 4:04. So about 3 hours between dusk and dawn. 3.5. Short nights here on the longest day of the year.
11:30 p.m. Midsummer.
And we have long days here. We're pretty far north. So we had a couple of days here. We filled up our fuel in our water tanks, and we began our crossing of Lake Vänern. We're back into lake sailing in fresh water, like back home. It's refreshing. We drop a hook for the night and enjoy.
And here we are on our first anchorage of the season. Lovely inland lake. And right over here is a bird sanctuary. And there's the one bird. He says, "Hey, what are you doing in my sanctuary?" And my response is, "You're on our side of the line. Get back on your own side." Nice beach.
And the next day, we entered the Gotha Canal, full of optimism. These locks are smaller. The line handling system is easy to understand and manage for a couple on the lifting locks. That unfortunately doesn't hold true for the locks on our way down the other side into the Baltic Sea. But on our way up the locks, this worked out very well. We didn't experience the risks of injury that were present in the Trollhättan Canal, but it had several issues as well. First, the canal is not the advertised 2.8 meters in depth, despite several people promising that that was true. It is 2.8 meters in depth in the center, and they know that because they have these small cruise ships that go through here, and they can just constantly churn up the center, and it maintains its 2.8 meters in depth. However, after 200 years, the sides of the canal have silted up. When you go to tie off for the evening, and you have to go to the side of the canal, our boat, with a 2.6 meter draft, hits bottom. We had to drive our keel into the mud most nights to be able to get close enough to tie off to a dock. We didn't always reach the dock, but at least we could get close enough that we could throw lines around it and tie off for the night. I don't like driving my keel into the mud, but we didn't have a choice. Unfortunately, I can't tell you the depth of keel that would be successful through the Gotha Canal. I know 2.6 meters is too deep. You cannot tie your boat off for the night. I don't know if 2.2 meters is okay, or 1.8, or 2.0. Sorry. But when you ask them, they will promise the canal is 2.8 meters deep. Be warned, it's not. And then, even in the center sometimes, between locks 5 and 6, eastbound on the Gotha, we hit bottom hard. It might have been a log that fell and sunk. Might have been a rock. I'm not sure what it was, but our keel hit in the center of the canal and thumped over it. So it's not 2.6 meters the whole way. Next, the locks often close early. They advertise a long day when you can make many miles, but they close early. They have rationale, of course, like they need to raise the water level. These early closings are not communicated until it actually happens. So you will be stopped in unplanned locations for the night. This happened just twice.
Block 3 in the Gotha Canal. This is going to be an interesting difference, me being off the boat most of the time. And Aaron handling both lines. Although he's already yelled at me.
Once, they told us we could not go any further at 2 p.m., and the other time was at 3 p.m. And there's nothing around for miles. We're just stuck in the middle of nowhere. That's okay. Just be ready for it. Make sure you're prepared to stop early and enjoy your trip. One day, I think the second day in the canal, we only made 6 miles of distance.
Working hard up there?
Yes,
Come down here, help some hand with some lines.
I'm making sure you're doing it right.
I'm gonna tell you a little story. This lock is the one lock we have 3 generations of lock keeping house. That house is the first lock keeping house we have. Every lock.
I need to get your story here.
No,
Okay.
I'm not so good at English.
Oh,
So you're gonna tell it on your story by yourself.
okay.
So I'm showing how every house looked like that before.
100 years ago.
Yes, 200 years ago.
Okay.
1940 we built a new one.
This one.
Yeah,
It's the same
And-
size.
pretty much the same size. But that is too cold.
Okay.
Okay.
It's very cold. In this house have 10 people died because
They froze.
yeah.
Okay.
But we don't live there, but we live there
For your lunch.
on the day.
Yeah.
And every house is the channels is owned. So we are own the house, but we rent it out.
Oh, okay.
If you want, I can hold this while you get the thing started, if that would help.
Fourth on our list, the lock's belly out. Once you get past the entrance gate, this means that your line handler has a choice to either exit quite nimbly, quickly, on top of the lock gate itself, or you have to turn the boat once you're in the lock
Okay, it's
to
coming.
get it close enough for that person to safety to get onto the bellied out wall. If you have a bow thruster, you can likely manage this okay.
Yeah, we're hitting the wall.
This blue boat is a representation of our boat as we are moving from the canal into the lock. And as you can see, the orange dots are where I'm standing and where I have to get off. And it's quite a jump as the boat comes in and then me stopping the boat prior to it moving too far into the lock.
For us, it was always stressful, steering a 42-foot boat with a rudder way at the back, trying to get our high freeboard midship area close to the granite lock wall for Marie to safely take the lines ashore. Because between the boat and the granite, you've got about 8 or 10 inches of fender, so she's got to go sideways over the fenders and then drop down about 3.5 feet to get on the granite. Suffice to say, we tested the MOB device. And we also have a small fiberglass repair to make on our bow this winter, the size of a locker granite, so it's not fiberglass friendly. Maybe someday they'll bolt a little wood strip along these granite blocks. Fingers crossed. I mentioned our high freeboard. That's significant because the locks are filled within 10 centimeters or 4 inches of the top. The water level is very near the top of the granite. So it's a long step down from your deck. But also, that 10 centimeters of wall before the water starts really restricts the ability of fenders to hang. If you have your fenders hanging down to the water line, right touching the water, they're only about 4 inches below the top of the granite. And our fenders are rounded on the bottom. As the boat approaches the granite, the fenders get squeezed out, they pop out. And now you've got fiberglass on granite. Don't get close, but get close enough for your line handler to safely get down and across the gap. So, the solution for this one, a bow thruster would be a great help, or having 3 people on board would be a great help. Trying to do this without the bow thruster and with only 2 people, I wouldn't do it again. And then finally the costs. Trollhättan Canal was 145 Canadian dollars. That's quite reasonable. The Goda Canal, however, was 1,443 Canadian dollars. I didn't see the value there. So finally, to recap, the solutions that we were proposed, people consider, If you have a bow thruster, great. If you have less than 2.6 meters of draft, you're in better shape than we were. If you have 3 people, that would be very helpful. And for safety, wait for room in the locks. Don't be pressured to going into an overcrowded lock, especially that first one in the Troll Hut, because it wasn't maintained, because the left side is a mess of rebar sticking out, and because the lock handlers are not watching, or they don't care. I can't judge which it was. Both are not acceptable answers. You need to be watching and you need to care. And maybe if you can find some fenders that don't float. Those cruise ships just use fence posts. They look like cedar fence posts, about 4 to 6 inches in diameter, hanging down the side of their boat about every 3 meters. That's what they used. And finally, budget lots of time. 2 to 3 hour waits are not uncommon. I would suggest you could probably plan on 30 minutes as an average, waiting for every bridge and every lock. But be ready for 2 to 3 hour waits or even short days. So, opportunities. So what could the canal managers do? Well, we've got a list of things. First, they could communicate. They could communicate accurately when it comes to timing and delays. Entering the locks, moving from lock to lock. Second, they could manage the water levels at night so they don't have to close early in the afternoon. Third, they could either dredge at the tie-off locations, as they call them the bridges, I would call them docks. Make it 2.8 meters as they advertise. Or make it 2.5 meters and tell us that's what it is. Communicate. 4, they could bolt a 2x6, a board, along the top of those granite walls so that boats do hit them. It's wood, not granite. Longer term, it's hard to handle the lines through those rings. They could replace them or supplement them with bullards, so you don't actually have to get off the boat, because you can easily lasso bullards from the deck. It's impossible to get a line through a ring from up on the deck. Short term, they could employ line handlers for those who don't have thrusters or additional crew. Yeah, that'd be a big expense. But for €1,000 to go through the locks, doesn't seem unreasonable. I suspect these ideas aren't likely to be implemented, so your travel considerations will happen without them. Now the good things.
Going up, you see the girl? She's waving to you. She's remotely controlling these locks. And in each lock there are cylinders. Oh, I'm not very good at this. Here and here. That go up and down that actually vary the flow. It's an interesting concept, actually. And what they do is they open the ones closest to the boat, so the water rushes across the lock and hits the boat kind of midship, and therefore doesn't spin the boat. And then we have our handy captain on the boat who is managing the lines. And I just stand out here and cheer him on as I walk from lock to lock.
The summer students that operate the go-to locks are very nice, very friendly, speak perfect English, and are very helpful within the limits they've been given. They aren't permitted to help with lines. The HR department has done a great job hiring these people.
It's the day number 2 on the go-to canal, and it's a beautiful day. Just look at that water. It's like a glass mirror. Today's the first day, June 25th, that I have gotten out of bed and decided shorts were appropriate. So, finally, some warm weather. So yesterday, day number 1, we got on the trail, the go-to canal, about 11:30, after we paid all of our fees and got the boat into the first lock. And we made about 6 miles, nautical miles. We did 11 locks, a half a dozen bridges. And today, hopefully, we'll make more like, 20 miles would be nice. Anyways, we'll see. It's 103 nautical miles across the whole canal, and they say you can do it in 3 days. I'm not really sure how you do that, but we'll see.
The travel is serene. The views of the farms, the forests, and the villages are very nice.
In the red shirt, going for a walk. I guess you'll meet me there. walking because it was close. Now what I've got to do is get into this lock and throw the lines up to her. I do not have to stop at that little bridge at the beginning and let her off the boat, which is good because that's a little tricky getting in there and bouncing back off and getting way over to the lock from that little wooden deck. But now the tricky part is getting into the lock, stopping the boat dead long enough that I can throw the lines up to her and she can hook them on. But first she hooks on the stern line, and then we can drift a little bit forward, and then she hooks on the bow line and the rings up on the concrete. Granite, actually. Okay, prop in reverse to slow us down.
The system works quite well for the up-bound locks. It was explained to us at the first lock, and it really works. Getting the long lines through the rings and then fed back to the boat, it's awkward and time-consuming, but otherwise it's effective. Bollards, please, for the next time.
They're opening those to let the water in here. So the one in yellow is a summer student who works here. The lady in teal or blue is just driving by on her bicycle. She thought she'd help. Marie asked if she gets paid extra money for operating this lock manually, and the lady in yellow said, no, same pay as all the other people. Doesn't quite seem fair. But this is it, the high point. We're into the lake at the top of the canal, all downhill from here.
This is what happens when you get too close to a bird's nest. They get very annoyed with you. They're gonna pluck his eyeballs out if they get a chance. Well, welcome to June 26th. It's a beautifully warm day. Sunny already here in Sweden. We've made it across Lake Viken. Literally tap dancing our way between the buoys. Got as shallow as 0.8. This is a beautiful lake. I don't know as for a sailboat, but canoeing and kayaking and even a small fishing boat, this would be a lot of fun. It reminds me of Upper Michigan, Algonquin in Canada. It's just gorgeous.
This is a sequence of 5 locks in a stair step, dropping 15 meters or about 50 feet. The lockmaster here, a person closer to our age than the rest of the summer students, was quite a character and was very helpful. They are packing them in tight here.
You can see 4 boats in this lock. And if you look down, you'll see 2 more masts behind. There. So there are 5 locks here. And they're bringing up 2 groups of boats at the same time. That's great. We'll get in sooner. We got here at 9 o'clock when the locks are supposed to open. And we were told we had to wait until 11:30. because they're going to bring all these guys up first, and there's a cruise ship coming through at 11. And boy, he lets this water in fast. This isn't good. The torrent. The last locks they just let in one at a time. So these boats are bouncing around like corks, man. I don't want to be on them. Hope he doesn't do that for us when we're going down. It's like being in whitewater rafting in your big sailboat. And I had 37 foot long sailboat. Pinned against the wall.
This looks more than a little dicey. That's a difficult place to get back on your boat. Life jackets are required. They weren't needed here today, but they're always a wise choice.
It's okay.
It's hard.
You can come on here. Maybe come here when he's driving out. Just come here. The last one. And I almost missed it. We're in the last lock. The cruise ship is already up there behind us. He's coming down too. It's a busy time for the lock handlers.
So today is my 60th birthday, and we're at a place called Soderkoping. It's on the Goda Trail, Goda Canal, and we're having coffee for breakfast, which is quite a treat when we're on the boat. It's a beautiful day, and kind of getting this cultural experience, which is just precious, actually. It's clearly the men's hangout for the town, this little cafe. I just said to Aaron, it has to be one of two things. Either it's the cheapest place for coffee, or they have the best coffee in town. So I'm enjoying my morning watching older men kibitz. It's an old man breakfast day.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
These buildings are really crooked. Not sure if you can see that from the video, but they're all pointing at different angles.
Won't you help me sing songs of freedom? And my breath can free heart and mind.
So many blueberries in these hills. Amazing. And finally, we've reached the end of the canal at Mem. What a ride. We're in the Baltic Sea. Wow. These Swedish border police stamped us out of the country, out of Schengen, and we're on our way to the UK. Well, we're on our way to the UK on a bit of a circuitous route, but we're in transit. It's great to be sailing again. Fantastic, actually. Loving it. Next time, we'll visit the Vasa in Stockholm, and we'll start our journey through the Swedish archipelago towards Finland. So thanks again for watching. We hope that our experiences are informative and entertaining, and that's why we share them. Please make a comment below and let us know if we're hitting the mark or if we can change something to get there. So we'll see you soon in Stockholm. It's great to be sailing again.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing.